Welcome to Sports Scoop. We're your hosts. This is Chantel Bailey.
And this is Kelly Wilson.
We want to welcome you all to our first episode of 2014. Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
On today's episode of Sports Scoop, we'll take a look at the BCS Championship game.
Also take a look back at the first rounds of the NFL playoffs.
We also want to discuss some of what's going on in the NBA.
And take a look at the Australian Open.
So we had unbeaten Florida State play Auburn in the BCS Championship game, in which Florida State did win 34-31.
Exactly.
Now, Auburn had the lead the first half. They were
sure
up
did,
21-10 the first half of the game.
Mm-hmm.
The third quarter, they were scoreless.
Right.
And then the fourth quarter is where it really became head-to-head. I mean, the game was intense. Jameis said he is not backing down. He is not going to lose.
He would not
be
denied.
And he did just that. I mean, the last play of the game was a run by Whitfield, and that pretty much sealed the deal for Florida State.
Exactly. That was one of the greatest comebacks I've seen in the BCS game. I haven't seen a game like that since Vince Young put his team on his back and beat USC.
Yep. And I also want to give a shout out to my boy Trey Mason for entering into the draft. Congratulations and good luck.
Now, moving on to pro football, we're getting ready for the Super Bowl. We got the playoffs. Right. The wild card round was pretty good. I mean, the Eagles, they had to fight their way to get into the playoffs.
They've been fighting all season.
Exactly. They fought, but in the end, the Saints got the best of them. Shouts out to them. But the Saints ended up losing to the Seahawks, a team who they've been having some trouble going up against. I don't know what it is, but like they say, when you take them out the dome, it's a whole new thing.
Regardless of all the power that the Saints had, I mean, I think they were chosen as a favorite to win that game.
Right.
The Seahawks still came and
they shut it down. That 12-man came out and it was strong. The other wild card game from the NFC was another great rivalry, which I thought the game would have been a whole lot closer than what it was. The Packers took on the 49ers. Now, these two teams, I don't know what it is with the 49ers of this I would guess this generation of 49ers, if that's accurate. This new team, this squad is stacked. I mean, you got Kaepernick, you got Bolden, you got Vernon Davis, Frank Gore, Michael Crabtree. Defense, you got Navarro Bowman, Justin Smith, and all that. But them and these Packers, they hate each other. And I don't know about you, but I like a good rivalry.
But you can tell, you can see it on the field, but we like to see that intensity in the game.
Exactly.
That's what the playoffs is all about.
It sure is. I mean, it was a hard-fought game. It was -5 degrees, so you factor in that weather.
Yep.
And you can't throw the ball like you would had it not been that cold. So I guess it took away from the momentum of the Packers. They weren't able to execute their game plan like they normally would have.
They should have been used to that, though.
That's true. That's no excuse. That's no excuse. But, I mean, also, that was, the second game back for Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
I mean, the boy hadn't played for X amount of weeks with that whole shoulder.
And that was the biggest factor in their loss, in my opinion.
But the 49ers, they came out. They said, we for real. Going to the Super Bowl last year with no fluke. We going to show you that we for real this time.
Yep.
So they won that game. Went over faced Cam in North Carolina.
Another great game.
You would have thought, I don't know what happened. But Cam, I mean, it was his first time in the playoffs. So I'm going to have to give him a little bit of a pass.
Oh, you got to give him credit.
The only person really on that team who had playoff experience was Steve Smith. They did a good job of winning their division. Yeah. Getting a first round bye, getting into the playoffs, but you got to come harder than what you did. Also, we can't forget about the AFC. We got some good games going on over there. The best game, in my opinion, of the playoffs thus far, I would say, would have been the Colts and the Chiefs. Now, if you like a good game, I'm talking about you're up by 24 points or something.
Yeah.
And then you come back and win. Now, granted, the Chiefs did have some key injuries. Their running back was hurt. A lot of other players got injured as well. But there's no way you lose a big lead like that. I'm sorry. I think they said that topped maybe all the other playoff comebacks. Maybe with the exception of the Oilers versus the Bills. But, I mean, that's that's a throwback for all you don't know. The Oilers were a team in Houston before the Houston Texans.
Throwback.
But that was a heck of a game. The other game for the AFC wildcard was the Chargers versus the Bengals. Now, the Chargers, they came in on a 5-game winning streak to head into the playoffs. Good run by them, by the way. They barely got into the playoffs, but nonetheless, they were in it. Now, they took on the Cincinnati Bengals, who were one of a few teams that went undefeated at home this season. The Cincinnati Bengals have been in the playoffs for the past 3 seasons. It didn't pan out for them like they wanted it to be, but they thought that this time would be the charm. They'll go push forward. They beat everybody in their conference, or excuse me, in their division. They didn't worry about the Steelers, hadn't to worry about the Ravens or anything like that. So it seemed like it seemed like they were in the driver's seat to take it, or at least take it further in the playoffs than what they did. But I don't know. My main man, quarterback Andy Dalton, he threw a lot of interceptions. He wasn't as consistent as he usually was. He couldn't get the ball to his number one receiver, AJ Green, and ultimately the Chargers defense was just way too much for them to handle. Unfortunately, their season ended. Hopefully, they can rebuild on all the things that they built up to last season and push forward. But it was a great win by the Chargers, who I personally did not think was going to win.
Neither did I.
But they came out. They came strong. They came hard. They were consistent the whole game, and they just took it. Now, the Chargers took on the Broncos in Denver for the next round. And they were one of a few teams that actually beat Denver at all this season. And they were the only team that beat them in Denver. So they were building off of that momentum. We already beat them once. Let's go do it again. And this time, this is for all the marbles. Because this is going into the AFC Championship game.
Do or die.
Do or die. They couldn't come with it. So they died, basically.
It's Peyton. It's his offense. It's how he runs the offense. A lot of short passes, a lot of quick passes.
And they got the run. Their running backs they're beast mode, too. But I will say this. The Chargers did come back. They ran out of time, unfortunately. Yep. But they were making strides, I thought, to make the game interesting. They did try an onside kick. Unfortunately, like I said, the clock ran out on them. Yep. But, they did a heck of a job to get into the playoffs. Like I said, 5-game win streak just to get into the playoffs. Went to Cincinnati, beat them, and now, taking on the Broncos, who is a very, very, very good team.
Yes.
They put up a good effort. The AFC Championship game was a great game, a great rematch against two great quarterbacks. You got Peyton Manning, his Broncos, Tom Brady, his Patriots. Yep. Now, this is a story that we have seen before.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
And what makes this rivalry great is since the 2001, they're tied. Their series matchup, they're 6-6. So you knew it was going to be intense to see who was going to get the next win.
Exactly.
Especially when they're competing for the Super Bowl.
And I said this is a game of Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. Forget all the other people. When it comes down to it, is who has the ball, who has the ball last, who's throwing it in the air, who's getting the touchdowns. And essentially, that's what happened. Peyton Manning took his team over 500 yards on the ground and in the air, shut down Tom Brady. They couldn't do nothing, couldn't come back. It was a wrap.
And they came out with the win, 26-16.
Headed to the Super Bowl. Now, the other half of the Super Bowl was decided in the NFC Championship game between the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Again, another great rivalry. These teams hate each other. They hate each other so bad that the Seattle Mariners, who is a baseball team, hates the San Francisco Giants, the other baseball team. They got nothing to do with this game. But that's how good of a game this is.
Getting back on topic, the Seahawks were favored to win this game since 2001. Their series matchup has been pulling in favor of the Seahawks. They're up 13-11, I believe, against the 49ers. So they had a little bit of an edge, but Colin is still a great quarterback.
Colin Kaepernick did his thing, gaining yards on the ground. Also, Frank Gore getting it in, touchdowns and whatnot. The defense stepped up. They were killing it. They took Russell Wilson out of his game.
All the way out of his element.
Really,
he was shaking in the pocket so much.
Now, Russell Wilson still has his own special weapon, Marshawn the Beast Skittles Lynch. All that.
Marshawn started out a little rough, but then he gradually put up a lot of yards for them, which is what Seahawks needed because they weren't looking too good in the beginning. First play, fumble. Recovered by the 49ers, so it wasn't looking too good for them.
Exactly. Marshawn actually put up over 100 yards rushing, who was the first and only running back to do that against the San Francisco 49ers in this whole postseason. And he took over. He took over when he needed to take over. But the defense, like I always say, defense wins games. And there wasn't a better play on defense than at the end of the game.
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick, they were moving the chains. They were going hard. 2-minute drill. He saw his boy Michael Crabtree in the end zone, tossed it up to him. But Richard Sherman was right there. In his words, the number one corner in the game tipped the ball. His homeboy Malcolm Smith caught it, intercepted it in the end zone.
Yep.
Game over.
Game over.
Game over. That play right there, Sherman did his thing. Gotta give it to you, buddy.
So, of course, we say congratulations to the Seahawks and the Broncos playing in the 48th Super Bowl. So, right now in the NBA, we got some big movers. in the East and the West. The Spurs are looking real good right now.
They always look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should expect that type of play from them this time of year.
Who I'm surprised to see though are the Trailblazers.
Whoop whoop.
Surprised they're I think the number 2 team in the West right now. Then over on the East side we have, of course, Miami and the Pacers doing incredible this year, having a great season.
They are blowing everybody out.
I mean,
it's just no contest. I mean, this Pacers team, they are for real.
They're on fire, and
they
they're
really
not
are.
slowing down
Not at
anytime
all.
soon.
Another hot team in the West is the Golden State Warriors. Mark Jackson, he's doing a heck of a job with the team over there. Offensively, they're playing great. Defensively, they're playing great as well. They're staying healthy was also a really good thing because we all know in the past, Andrew Bogut as well as Stephen Curry have had multiple issues with ankles and whatnot. So it's good to see them playing as a unit with all their starters and playing this great right now.
And I mean, along the same line, speaking of the Warriors, it just got beat by Oklahoma, which I have to give it up for them. They're having a great season as well. But Kevin Durant ended that game with 54 points.
Career high.
That is unbelievable. 54 points, Kevin Durant.
Also, you can't forget about Reggie Jackson. He is taking the place of Russell Westbrook as he's on injury. This kid, I mean, he's been doing a heck of a job. I mean, he has some pretty big shoes to fill, but I think he's been doing it very well. He's been holding his own. Now, switching gears from the hottest teams in NBA, going over to some teams who are trying to get hot, per se, the Chicago Bulls. Now, we all know they're without their starting point guard, Derrick Rose.
Right.
He says he's going to try to return before the season's over, but you never know. Now, with that being said, their next star on the team, who's been there longer than Derrick, Mr. Luol Deng, is no longer on the team. You know, they traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Andrew Bynum, who they released soon after getting him for cash purposes.
Right.
They're trying to clear off that cap space. I guess they're trying to make some big moves to get a big name. I guess in the
Trying to
offseason.
rebuild the franchise. And trying to get some good draft picks. But
Exactly.
I don't know. That was a big loss for the Bulls. So now who are the Bulls going to fill the space with? I mean, you lost Dang, so now who do we move to next after this?
Exactly. I mean, Noah, he's holding down in the center position. My main man, Carlos Boozer, he is now playing like the Carlos Boozer of old. He's like years removed from him being with the Utah Jazz. So I don't even think he might be there next season. But I mean,
I think coach is just trying to figure out how to rearrange this offense right now.
Right.
Because you losing some big names.
Exactly. The only good thing about this is that the Eastern Conference is so weak right now. I mean, there's only like 3 teams that have a 500 or above record, and the Bulls are not one of those 3 teams.
Right.
But they're not out of the race.
Tennis season is underway with our Australian Open. It extends to January 26th. The biggest news right now in this series is Serena Williams losing to Ana Ivanovic.
I mean, this is very unexpected. Serena came in as the #1 ranked tennis player. She's been killing it all season long. She's been doing her thing.
She's won the last 5.
She's been in Ivanovic before, so she knows her routine. She knows how she plays. She knows what her techniques are. But for whatever reason, she just couldn't get the job done. She ended up losing 3 sets. And Serena also was suffering from some back problems, which may or may not have contributed to her losing to Ivanovic. But according to Serena, she said the weather and the back problems were not, she's not going to blame those things for her losing. You know, she pretty much just got outplayed by a better opponent that day. You know what time it is.
What time is it, girl?
Hottie of the week.
That's right. Our Hottie of the week is none other than Colin Kaepernick, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
This season, Colin threw 31 passing touchdowns, rushed for 9, threw over 3,200 passing yards, and rushed for over 500. Not to be outdone, he still put in work in the postseason, throwing 3 touchdown passes and rushing for 1. Also, he threw for over 500 yards and rushed for over 200 yards. Go Colin. This week's hottie was so hot, I had to throw away the glasses. I didn't need an extra pair of eyes to see him.
Girl, what?
Hey.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of Sports Scoop. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow our Twitter page.
See you next time. Thanks for watching. Very well. They're moving the ball very well as well. I said well too many times. But the defense is going strong as well. Dig it!
Yo, what's up? My name is Shake.
What?
And I am bringing you to the mother.
What?
We gonna do the show. We talking about sports.
Sports school? What? Come on now. Put the Wayne down. He don't want you. He got 3 other baby mamas.
Ooh, yeah. You don't want to get caught up in that now. have to like,